If I were a pro YouTuber, I would have called this video something like 10 reasons why you shouldn't be using AI, you're doing everything wrong. But I don't want to be clickbaity, I'm not a pro YouTuber, and the reason for this video is not to convince you not to use AI. I don't really care what you do, you can do whatever you want, I'm not your mom. I'm doing this video because I'm tired of seeing just one type of discourse, the type that says that AI is the future, and if you're not using it, you're going to be left behind. But I wonder, who has decided that AI is the future? Some Silicon Valley billionaires who incidentally own all of the major AI companies? I don't call that an unbiased opinion. So I just wanted to have an informed discussion. I wanted to explain my view on the subject, and you can make up your own mind. You are already an intelligent person, so I don't have to tell you what to do or not to do. And what is my side of the story? My side of the story is that maybe you're not missing out if you're not using AI. I don't use AI for my work or otherwise, and I don't think that my work is worse for it. I actually think it is better. What kind of work do? I am a lingerie designer and pattern maker. I come from a very different background, and you can see the whole story in a video I made over here. But right now, let's get into the important part of the video. Okay, but why have I chosen not to use AI? Honestly, because I think that is completely useless and it's actually bad for myself and for my clients. And let me explain before you tell me how wrong I am. First, let's do a super quick clarification of what I mean when I say AI, because not all AI is created equal and not all AI is generative AI. Your friendly neighborhood AI, the one that has been around for decades, it used to be called machine learning, and it's basically a set of algorithms that are very, very good at recognizing patterns and predicting patterns within a set of data. Generative AI is a form of that AI that not only recognizes patterns within the data, but can also generate new data. It can have a lot of uses. For example, I like photography, and nowadays most photography editing software, they have some kind of AI noise reduction tool in which the AI would analyze one image and would generate new pixels to cover up the noise in an image, so the image looks good. This for me is an example of how generative AI can be used as a tool, and I'm not opposed to that. The problem comes when this software is not used as a tool to help a human, but rather to replace a cognitive function that should happen in the brain of that human. For example, when you use it to generate a drawing, it is replacing the entire creative process that should happen in your head when you create a drawing. That specific type of generative AI, the one that replaces human creativity and human thought, is the one that I'm against, and is the one that I'm talking about when I'm talking about AI in this video. So, why don't I want to use any kind of generative AI in my work or otherwise? There are several reasons. There are first ethical and environmental reasons that we will touch upon later. But mainly, I'm a very pragmatic person. I can't see a single benefit of using a software that is going to do what I am already capable of doing to a very high degree of quality. And any competent designer would probably say the same. Oh, but with AI, you could be more productive, it's so much faster. Yeah, but are you really more productive? Because recently there's a study that analyzed the use of AI within a company, and when asked the employees that were using AI, they were convinced that they were being around 20% more productive, but in reality, when their performance was measured, they were being around 20% less productive. So I'm not really sold on that productivity part. But let's look at my workflow as a designer and pattern maker and see which parts could I automate using generative AI. First, I usually do mood boards when I'm starting to design a collection. So if I didn't feel in the mood to think or to be creative and do the job that I chose because I actually want to be creative, I could decide to use AI for that. There are tools that allow you to tell ChatGPT or other AI softwares what is your target customer and the overall vibe of the collection, and it will generate a mood board for you. The problem is I have seen those AI softwares in action and they didn't really impress me. Not so long ago, I did a collaboration with a couple of friends, also designers, and we did like a fun project in which we invented a brand and we wanted to do a collection for that fictitious brand. So each one of us started doing a mood board, and one of us decided to use that ChatGPT tool. I think it was ChatGPT, it may not be, I'm not sure. But she input all the information we had about the brand and the target customer, and it was something like it's supposed to be a very sophisticated customer, a bit minimalist, it's supposed to have a bit of a dark, edgy, modern vibe. And I think that she also told the AI tool even some competitor brands. And the collection was supposed to be a spring collection. So what the AI came out with was literally flowers for spring, which is not surprising because AI works by recognizing patterns and predicting, giving you the most likely outcome. And what is the most likely outcome for a spring collection? Flowers. It ignored all the rest of the information that would have made the collection more unique, more different, and more adequate for the target customer, and just decided to do flowers. So no, forgive me, but I have like a million different ideas that are more interesting than flowers for spring, and I feel like I would be doing my clients a disservice if instead of coming up with original ideas, I just used a tool that can only regurgitate what has already been done. And this is more or less the same for what would be the next phase of my workflow, which would be creating the actual designs. If I have made a mood board myself, I'm already full of inspiration to create unique and interesting designs. I don't need to ask ChatGPT or Midjourney to regurgitate something that is going to be made more or less in the same way by a dozen other brands. But using AI for design also has another disadvantage, that is that it can generate the prettiest picture, but it may not be possible to create that garment in real life. So why would I present my clients with a design that it's impossible to make, at least without significant change, and that probably also won't fit the same way that the AI is recreating or generating, because gravity doesn't exist in the world of AI. I am a lingerie designer and gravity is a big part of what I'm working against. Like, we all know that boobs can be kept in place with a piece of lace and a prayer. Creating a bra is a piece of engineering, and you need to know a lot of that when you are designing that bra. You need to know what kind of strap width is going to be comfortable for a range of sizes. You need to know what kind of wire shape is going to be ideal for that design. And especially, you need to know where the support of that bra is coming from. And AI doesn't know that, mainly because AI is not a person and it doesn't have boobs. So what use it is to generate a design with AI and get a client all excited about it, only to tell them that it can't be made unless we do extensive modifications. I personally prefer to create a good design from the start. That also leads me to explain a bit more of my design process, because I design directly in 3D. I use a software called Close 3D, which allows me to take the patterns that I have drafted and test them in a 3D prototype, in a 3D avatar, and simulate the fit. So I can be very sure that the design that I'm working with is going to be viable in real life. It's going to fit more or less in a similar way than what the 3D simulation is telling me. And of course, it's not perfect, but it means that when the physical sample comes, it's already in a really great place. And I use 3D in this way because it allows me to reduce the number of physical samples, so it's a more sustainable workflow, and also it's a shorter workflow in terms of time and a cheaper workflow for the client because they don't have to pay for all that multiple samples. So what benefit is AI going to give me if I already have a pretty realistic way of presenting my designs to clients, and that also assures me that my designs are going to be viable? I don't have the need to waste any more resources generating pretty images that are not really adding any value to that workflow. But above all, I don't use generative AI to do my job because surprise, surprise, I actually like my job. Like, I like to be creative. I enjoy problem solving the fit of a pattern. So I don't want an AI to rob me of the joy of doing all of those things. I don't really care that AI is supposed to make you more productive and faster, because I don't really want to be faster. I want to be good. Okay, I have talked about this before, so I'm going to try to be very brief. My main ethical concerns with generative AI is that pretty much all the major AI softwares, generative AI softwares like ChatGPT, Midjourney, and the like, have been trained using copyrighted content without asking for permission or giving compensation to the authors of that content. And the authors of that content are, ironically, the people that these tools aim to replace. They are artists, they are musicians, they are writers, they are creators. And the worst part is that the owners of these generative AI companies admit that, like, they admit that they have used copyrighted content, but they say that asking for permission or giving compensation to the authors would have been a very slow and expensive process. And like, I beg your pardon, you have stolen content from other people, and the excuse that you give is that it would have been slow and expensive otherwise. So imagine that you went into a shop, like an expensive shop, like Dior or something, and you grabbed a bag and told the shop assistant, hey, I'm going to keep this bag, but I'm not going to pay for it because paying would be a slow and expensive process, so I'm just going to grab it and walk out that door. What do you think that would happen? Like, you would be in jail. But for example, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, had built a whole business based on that kind of theft. Like, he admits that it was essential for his business. And I wonder, like, if profiting of stolen property is essential for your business, are you really running a business, or are you a mafia? Like, are you a criminal organization? So that's one reason I choose not to use any kind of AI software, because I don't make a habit of associating with morally corrupt billionaires. And in relation to the kind of people who own these softwares, another reason that I'm put off from using generative AI is that what happens if you rely on ChatGPT or Grok or Midjourney, whatever, for your job, but then the owners of the company decide to raise the subscription prices to a crazy high amount. If the only way that you have to design a collection is by asking ChatGPT what to do, then you do not own your skills. Like, you are at the mercy of whatever the billionaire that owns the company wants to do with it. And you may ask, like, oh, but you're a pattern maker and you just said that you use Close3D to make your patterns, so isn't that the same? Well, it's not, because I know how to make patterns, so I'm using Close3D to test the fit of those patterns. If Close3D is suddenly closed, I could go to Browseware or Style3D or any other 3D software, and I would have a small learning curve because it's a different software, but I would keep doing the same patterns with the same quality. And if all 3D softwares closed, I could go back to just using pen and paper, like I did for years before Close3D existed, or like before I started using Close. Like, the process would be slower and I probably would have to make more physical samples, but the final result, the final pattern, would be just as good, because I am the one that has the skills of making a pattern, and Clo is just helping me visualize the fit. It's a tool just like a ruler is a tool. The problem with thinking of generative AI as a tool is that it's not helping you do a skill as a tool does, but instead is replacing your ability to perform that skill. Like ChatGPT doesn't teach you how to draw in the style of Studio Ghibli, it just gives you the end result, and you have acquired a total of 0 skills in the process. It's like that story about giving a hungry man a fish versus giving him a fishing rod and teaching him how to fish. Like, generative AI is not teaching you how to fish, it's giving you the fish, and the fish is already smelling funky. But AI is the future of the fashion industry and the future of the tech industry and the future of like grocery shopping too. Like, yes, a lot of brands are going to be using generative AI and a lot of them are already using it. Most of them are fast fashion brands that want exactly what AI is offering. Quantity and speed and not necessarily quality. AI is like putting fast fashion on steroids. We already know that the fashion industry is extremely wasteful and AI is going to incentivize that even more. And not just because AI is going to allow all those fast fashion brands to make their shit faster, but also because AI in itself is an environmental catastrophe. I've talked about this in other videos, so I'm just going to say what we already know at this time because it's almost impossible to ignore, and that is that generative AI needs enormous quantities of energy and water to function and is contributing to the ecological collapse of our planet. Do I want to be part of that? No, I don't. So how could I, in good conscience, say that I'm trying to achieve a more sustainable fashion industry, but then ask ChatGPT to write for me a LinkedIn post because I'm too lazy to think? So no, I don't use AI, and I would prefer to work with brands that don't use it either. Not just because everything else that I said, but also because those are the kinds of brands, the ones that are not using AI, that are looking for the kind of things that I do. For example, interesting designs that are not copy-pasted, or garments that are made better instead of faster. And I do think that the brands that are not using AI have a real chance of success, even in this era of AI, because there are already enough brands that do badly made shit, but not enough that do original, diverse, inclusive, and sustainable garments. A portion of the public is already getting tired of AI, and they are being put off when they see a brand using it for imagery. Some brands are even trying to go above and beyond to prove that their pictures, the product pictures, are not AI generated, because they have realized that people are not stupid. People are starting to make the connection that the more AI a brand uses, the more chances there are that their products are just shit. If they didn't bother to photograph the garment, maybe they didn't even bother to design it in a thoughtful way. So why are we, the consumers, willing to buy that? Authenticity is going to have more value going forward, and the brands that understand that are the ones that are going to have a real chance of surviving and even growing in this oversaturated market. Even the CEO of Squarespace said recently that handmade art will be a luxury. And I don't think that is crazy to say that the same can be applied to fashion. Things made with care by humans and for humans are going to be the most valuable of all. So my plan for the future is simple. Just continue being really fucking good at what I do and trying to find brands that align with those values. And let me know what you think of all this. Is AI good? Is AI bad? Is some Altman hiding under the table trying to steal your next creative idea for this AI? Probably, but let me know what you think. I said that I want an informed discussion and I want to be respectful of all the opinions, and I also want you to be respectful of my own opinion, but I really like to discuss these kind of things because these are the things that are happening in real time. So I'm really interested in seeing what other people that may have different ideas and different backgrounds that I do and see what they think. So leave me a comment below with your thoughts. I have a lot of other videos talking about AI, so I will put some of them here and you can go watch them if you haven't had enough with this one. But for now, have a great rest of your day and see you soon in the next video.